we have to refer back to the podcast with Omar Monami, where he shared, if you want to train aggression and be comfortable and confident in the contact situation, you got to remind yourself, I've always got three choices, either fight, flight, or freeze. So when that opportunity arrives in training, where you can actually train the contact, you need to get stuck in there. And sometimes you need to overcome that mental barrier. So we've spoken about physical strength, but mental strength is just as important, and especially the word which I love. Hi everybody, welcome to another episode on the Lesson from the Game podcast with my co-host Ben Pegna. And today is our short form episode, how to level up as a rugby player. This is a request that we have received from so many people that have supported our podcast over the last few weeks, sending us DMs, sending us messages. So that's why Ben and myself have decided to deep dive into it today and share with you what we believe you should be doing to level up as a rugby player. Ben, how you doing, man? Good to see you.
Yeah, likewise, G. How are you, mate? You okay?
I'm good, man. Just after that intro 3 times before, so luckily I got it correct this time, so that's good.
For us.
All right, man, we're not going to chit-chat too much. Just to remind everybody, this is our short-form episode. We will do our best to give you guys as much or as many insights as possible. But if you do want us to deep dive into a certain aspect of our conversation, please let us know, send us a DM. And once again, thanks to everybody that is supporting our podcast. Please like, follow, and subscribe, and share it with your friends. Ben, leveling up as a rugby player, that's not all easy, and this is applicable to purpose-driven people as well. It doesn't just apply to rugby players. This can be in your personal life as well. But we all know, if you want to level up, keeping it on the rugby side of things as a rugby player, you need to be clear on your why. You need to understand what your why is. What's your take on that?
Yeah, 100% G. I mean, that gives you the motivation. It gives you the foundation as to why you that dark place when you need to go to a dark place, because you know it's not a superficial reason why you're doing something. That can be that fuel inside that gives you that desire to really push through and really achieve your best. But if you've got a bigger purpose, then that why is fundamental, isn't it?
No, I totally agree. Like I always share with the players, my driving force back in the day to becoming a Springbok is because it was at a deeper meaning. I wanted to achieve something great, but most importantly, growing up in South Africa, having the most of my family experience apartheid, I wanted to show that it's possible. Someone like me, a person of color, that can play at the highest level, but also inspiring my community and making my family proud, and also working towards giving my parents an opportunity to experience something great, going to another country, a foreign country. So that was one of the biggest driving forces, and I was clear on my why. I wanted to be competitive. I wanted to become great. And everybody's why is different, but if you're not clear on your why, you're just working like a headless chicken, no purpose at all, just running all over the place in all different directions. So for those of you listening, you need to be clear on that. And please, while you're listening or watching this episode, make sure you got a pen and paper close by, that you're making notes, writing it down. I'll be making some notes. Got my pen here and my tablet over here. We're making notes as Ben, as always, will be sharing loads of gems. Is there anything that you would like to add in terms of when it comes to your why, Ben?
Oh, no, that's beautiful. I agree with you 100%. I didn't really ever understand it properly, but when I think about what we're doing with this podcast, our why is that we want to serve people and we want to help them fulfill their potential. And that's a real burning passion for both of us, and it gives us that purpose. So that allows us to also give us clarity on when we make decisions on how we do things, because we can ask ourselves and put it through that filter. Are we helping people? Is this serving people? Is this helping them improve, level up, etc.? So yeah, it's a great foundation to start with.
Okay, so guys, the first step to leveling up your performance as a rugby player, and if you're an amateur player that wants to level up his performance, you need to follow this. And whether you're a semi-professional that wants to go pro, or a professional rugby player that wants to get more game time or potentially get that starting spot in the playoffs in your championships, you definitely make sure you're making notes and that you're listening attentively, which is very important. So Ben, we want to go on now to the next part, all right, which is the personal audit. We have spoken about the personal audit in so many other episodes, and I think it's great, and it was actually your idea to deep dive a bit into what it is. So I'm going to hand it over to you.
Yeah, thanks, G. Yeah, we've spoken about it a lot, and so I thought it would be a brilliant idea for us to explain it in a bit more detail. And I use this every time I start a conversation with a new client, a new athlete that I'm training. One of the footballers that I'm working with, for example, I'll say to him, the very first thing I say, look, what's your score out of 10, out of 100 today? What's your score out of 100? Like, how do you feel? Where are you at? And they'll say, I don't know, 65. And I'll say, why are you a 65 or something like that? And we'll and assess and that's everything about how they're feeling within themselves, how they're feeling with their job and their family. But then I'll say, okay, let's try and break it down. Let's look at your, what comprises your life, and let's look at your game. And I'll say, okay, let's look at your technical, let's look at your physical, let's look at your mental, and then depending on the sport, your tactical or tactical awareness, and then in rugby situation, your rugby IQ. And then let's imagine that each one of them has a score that you can get out of 10. Your best is like 10 out of 10. So where would you rate yourselves at the moment? So you might say physical at the moment, I'm a 5 out of 10. Technical, I'm a 7 out of 10. Tactical awareness, I'm an 8 out of 10, or whatever it might be. And then from there, we have a number, and we can really clearly see where we might be deficient and where we need to level up, or where our strengths are. Or, we might be able to actually, I hadn't really thought of that. I haven't really considered what that even means. And we can assess where we really are, and then we can make some steps to improve from that point.
Brilliant. So if I can just resume that, Ben, so the key areas to help players to do their own personal audit, we're starting with technical, all right, physical, mental, tactical awareness, and rugby IQ. Guys, that's 5 categories, which allows you to do your own personal audit. So you need to make sure that you're keeping track of your progress, all right? I shared with you guys about the example of doing a bullet journal. That's a great example to do exactly that, keeping your scores. But most importantly, we're always telling you guys, make sure when you're doing this personal audit to identify your strengths, but also identify your work-ons. This is the key behind it, is knowing what your strengths are, but also identifying the key areas which will help you to level up your performance. Right, Ben, I'm going to slow this down a little bit because we're so pumped and we want to get as much as possible in and make sure we're respecting the limit of 20 minutes. So we haven't done that yet. But let's kind of slow it down. Let's give the audience a bit examples in terms of what should they be looking on the technical side of things.
Yeah, so imagine, I'm working with you, G. You might say to me, okay, Ben, well, I'm a prop and I'm a 6 out of 10 technically. And I say, okay, well, why are you a 6 out of 10? And you might say, well, my scrums are good, my lineouts aren't as good, I'm okay carrying like this, but I don't really tackle well on my right shoulder. And we'll break your game down. And then that will then allow us to say, okay, well, your lineouts aren't good. You've given yourself and your lineout maybe a 4 out of 10. Why is your lineout a 4 out of 10? You say, well, I'm not, I really find it hard to be dynamic with my lift. Okay, so, and then that will help us, we can then take remedial action and we can look at that. Is that a technique thing with the lift? Is it that you don't squat and do a full push press when you lift and you're not dynamic? Is it because you don't move quickly across the ground to get into place to lift your jumper? Is it because you don't grip properly on him? Is it because you're not doing push press in the gym and you haven't got the strength in your shoulders to be dynamic? And we can then break it down. So that would be that first part. What's the profile and what's the skill set required for my role on the field? And then that will allow me to look where I am excelling at the moment, just getting by, or deficient, and then we can make those corrections.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Really, some great examples there. And just maybe to summarize it for our audience, any rugby player, and especially when it comes to a forward, you've got attacking skills and defensive skills and your set piece skills. So and it's the simple basic passing skills, ruck quality, right, ball carry, ball presentation, making sure your tackle technique, your jackal, grabbing on the ball. There are so many different skill sets. List them. What are the skill sets that are required from on attack? What are the skill sets that are required from on defense? And then your set piece. Obviously, the backs, you guys don't have to work hard, so you're not worried about the set piece, but you guys need to make sure that you have your set piece plays. So take the time and identify what you need to work on. So what is the technical things that you need to work on? And repetition is key. I always share this with you guys. You can have talent, but talent combined with effort allows you to develop a skill set. Skill combined with effort allows you to achieve success, all right? And be successful in what you want to achieve and what you want to do. All right, Ben, the next one.
That was a great point you made, G, by the way. That was a great point, because the technical, you might have be a 6 out of 10, but you might within that, because there's so many facets to your role, you're going to have some things that you're really good at, but things like maybe my passing off my left hand isn't as good when I have to do a pullback pass, for example. And so it's really important people do that. They break it down. They think about it. They think, what actually is my role? And they really give it time. So I think what you said there is really, really important. They take the time to journal it and pay attention to what they, what they think they need to work on.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Ben, the physical side of things. This is a very important part of the game. To explain my side, physical, what does that mean? That's your conditioning. That's your strengths. That's your power. That's your speed. That's your agility. And it's different for each position. Each player has different requirements. For example, with props, when it comes to scrummaging and mauling, talk a lot about the lactic tolerance, that ability to tolerate the lactic acid in those legs, that endurance levels. That's very important. What are your thoughts on that? What are the things that players should be focusing when it comes to the physical side of things?
Yeah, well, I think this is really, there's two elements to this, or you can divide it into two elements for me. One of them is, am I fit for purpose for my role in the team? So if again, using you as an example, if you were a prop and we say, look, you can't squat your body weight, for example, are you fit for purpose? Are you going to be durable and robust? But are you going to be able to dominate the scrum and actually impose your technique on somebody? Because have you got the physicality to be able to do that and the physical strength? Or is that the thing that's holding you back? So am I fit for purpose? If you're in other positions, have you got the repeatable speed, the speed endurance to be able to chase a kick, get back, cover another kick down to, if you're a back three player, for example, get across, take a high, have you got the ability to get in position to be able to catch the high ball? If you, or do you not have the physical abilities? So that physical element is really, really important. But then as you progress your game, I'm working with a footballer at the moment who's trying to get back in the Premier League. And he said to me, look, I need my top end speed to be really, really good. So he's identified that speed after they're transitioning needs to be progressed and developed further. So it really depends where you are on the stage of your journey as well. But there's some fundamentals. Am I fit for purpose is, I think, a really good starting point.
I love that. Fit for purpose. All right. That's so important. It kind of ties in to, are you transferring what you're doing from the physical side to the rugby fields? Like, you can be gym strong, but are you rugby strong? It's exactly what you're saying. It needs to be transferable. You need to understand what you're doing in the gym needs to transfer onto the field. And it's very important that we make sure that we put those efforts in, because the modern day game requires a lot of rugby players. You need also to protect yourself, preparing for those collisions, trying to reduce the risk of concussions, your neck strength. That's so important. You need to make sure that you are preparing your body for the collisions. All right,
100%.
For purpose. Love
that. Can I give you an example then of how I used that recently? So I was working with a player. He was a back rower. And we said, look, how can we make you able to, we want to put you under pressure and fatigue you and put you under duress. But at the same time, the technical element of the game that we're working on, which was that first part, is you at the breakdown. So what we'll do some shuttle runs. Every time you go, you have to, you sprint there, you flip a tire, you sprint back, then you're contesting a ball that was restricted and he couldn't get it out. Then he had to go back and forth a couple more times. So the tire flipping was also fatiguing, but also replicating clearing a ruck. And then he's coming back and he's then having to make a decision at the breakdown and the jackal. Do I go in? Do I ice this breakdown? So that was that sort of the combining the technical with the physical and making it very, very specific and functional for his position.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So just to recap, guys, which is very important on the physical side of things, repeating efforts at high intensity. That's very important. Great point, Ben. training under fatigue so you can replicate the proper standards of technique in the different skill sets which is required for the game of rugby and to perform in the modern day game, which is very important. So make sure you're conditioned, you are fit, you are strong, you have endurance, lactic tolerance. That's very important. That is what's required. We need to move on, Ben. The mental side of things, which is probably one of the most important part of the game, being able to perform under pressure. Are you confident? And I'm reminding you guys, we're just sharing you the insights of the personal audit to help you, to give you that score so it can identify what your strengths are, but also identifying the key areas that you need to work on. Are you capable of making the right decision in tough situations? When you are tired, are you capable of moving forward, going above and beyond, blocking out that noise, even when you're in ghost mode, when you're seeing dead relatives on the field, still capable of executing your task with precision? But the mental side, that gets developed with repetition as well, is putting yourself under pressure. We have to refer back to the podcast with Omar Monami where he shared, if you want to train aggression and be comfortable and confident in the contact situation, you got to remind yourself, I've always got three choices, either fight, flight, or freeze. So when that opportunity arrives in training, where you can actually train the contact, you need to get stuck in there. And sometimes you need to overcome that mental barrier. So we've spoken about physical strength, but mental strength is just as important, and especially the word which I love, resilience. You need to develop that resilience, and you develop resilience through tough times, that moments of adversity.
Yeah, 100%. G. The other element I think that we add in under that is, what's your traits when you're under pressure? Other than, do you backchat the referee? Do you blame others? Do you hide? Do you go quiet? Are you the guy that's always chirping? Are you the guy that's actually an encourager when the first ball goes down? What's your default mechanism? And that's part of that mental framework. And it's a big, big topic that we're going to dive into another day because it's so big. But it's huge, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I can feel the pressure, man. We've got 17 minutes on the clock already. We still have 2 more points to go through. But you know what? We will eventually reach that benchmark at another stage, Ben. Well, let's just accept we're going to go over the 20 minutes. Right. So, guys, the mental aspect is very important. We will deep dive into that on another stage. So the next one is tactical awareness. Ben, do you want to start off with this one?
Yeah, I think it's pretty much what it says on the tin, isn't it? It's like, do you understand what's required of you in this game? Do you understand the game? Do you have game sense, game understanding? But also then it's like, what are we, what's the coach asked us to do? It can encapsulate a lot of things, but it's really putting a lot of the stuff together, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. For me, tactical awareness, if I can share this with the audience, having that ability to scan what's happening in front of you, what is required, where do I need to be? Am I doing my job? Am I fulfilling my role in the team, in the game plan? Defense, there's a wall in front of me. Am I going to hit the wall, break the wall, or am I going to pass the ball behind the back to the following player? Are we capable of identifying the space? That's tactical awareness. Do I keep the ball and just kick it out when I'm on my own 22, but we have a 4v1? Those are the type of things that we're doing. Tactical awareness is, what tackle technique do I use? Do I go low? Do I go high? Do I attack the ball? Do I attempt the jackal? Where am I? What is my position? So it's about scanning what's in front of you, communicating as well, but also the tactical awareness. If I have to relate to the most intelligent rugby players on the field, which is the props, when they're in that scrum situation and you feel the tight head is cranking you down, you need to resist. And if you feel the loose head is trying to walk around, you need to counteract that movement and working towards 1 o'clock. I know that's a lot of information, Ben, and you might not understand. I'll slow it down on another stage.
Beautiful.
But guys, that's tactical. Is the situations that you experience on the field. Sorry?
Talking of props, tactical awareness is, do you remember when Matt Dunning, the former Aussie prop, when he took that drop goal and he needed his team needed more than 3 points to win, and then he took the drop goal. That's what we're talking about, but not like demonstrate like that. Yeah, being aware of what's going on.
On that note, guys, props, you need to make sure you're working on your drop kicking skills. It can happen once in your life. And the same with catching a high ball. It can potentially happen once in your life. And listen to the Anthony Watson podcast because he shared some great tips on how to improve your aerial skills. Okay.
Nice.
Rugby IQ. I think this is
Yeah.
probably one of the most things. Your rugby IQ, rugby intelligence. This is your understanding of the game. What is my job? What is my role? Do I understand the team's game plan? Do I know actually what I want to do? We have seen now these days with the line-out calls, it's like science, it's like maths, like so many numbers, so different codes. So you need to do your homework. You need to have that ability to analyze your game, review your training sessions, understanding why you're doing what you are doing. And it's kind of tying into the tactical awareness, actually. But understanding what my job is, what my role is, what I need, at what stage do I need to do what, that's very important.
Beautiful. Yeah. Well said. I like it.
Anything else to add, Vin? I can't
No,
be
it's
that good.
great. No, it's what's the team strategy? Do I understand what the coach is requiring of me? Do I understand why I'm being picked? What am I bringing to this? That's that tactical awareness stroke rugby IQ, understanding your role within the weekly plan, for example, or the framework of what's required. Why, what am I bringing? And that's part of it. So that's good.
No, awesome. All right, guys. So now we're going to go on to the next step. All right, step number 3. You need to find a mentor or coach or specialist. Once you have identified the key areas that you need to work on, you need to get someone that has the expertise to either teach you or help you develop the skill set and make sure that you level up. Because if you don't, you can't do it on your own. You need a support network. You need feedback. You need that instant feedback as well if you want to level up. So make sure you're getting a mentor or coach. And I mean, this is what I'm doing. I'm helping the players at our club to level up their performance in the scrum, identifying their work-ons, explaining to them what techniques they need to do, identifying what they need exactly. Same as well when I'm working remotely with props or coaches with my online programs. I'm helping them. I'm guiding them on their journey so that they know that they're not alone.
100% G. Yeah, some really good points there. Find someone who's been there before, done it before, or help people get there before. And that might be a strength and conditioning coach for the physical. It might be, a former player or a coach or a mentor or an older player who's an experienced pro who guides you with the technical stuff that he's learned or they've learned along the journey or their journey. It might be a coach who gives you, helps you for 5 minutes after every training session that you work on some of your tactical understanding or your technical stuff as well. So, and then obviously the mentor, that we're going to speak about on another episode, but that might be, it could be, how do I visualize and do I get somebody to help me learn how to do that? Do I read about that? Or do I want to find a sports psychologist or somebody that I can work with?
Okay, great. Next one, and this is the last one which we want to share with you guys, is weekly tactics. You need to be organized. You need to schedule what you need to do. When will I be working on my tackle technique? When do I need to do my extra conditioning session? When I need to recovery, mobility? When should I be doing my game review, my analysis of the opposition? You need to plan it. You need to work in and schedule those different blocks. It's like only like that. Like, for example, if you need to work on your tackle technique twice a week, right? 2 times a week, 5 minutes, need to speak to my coach, organize with all the different specialist coaches or mentors that you are working. You might need to potentially schedule a session with your mental coach online or your psychologist. Who knows? Make sure that you are organized and ask yourself, what should I be doing on a weekly basis so that I can level up my game?
100% G. That's really good. And, just to remind people, and, you want to know where you're trying to get to and work backwards from that point so that you have those weekly and daily actions that you can then implement as processes. And that will help you. And if you can journal them, and keep a record of them, that's so good for your confidence because you can see the progress, you can see the work you've done. Yeah, last month I made 500 extra passes off my left hand or whatever it might be, but also it allows you to track and see what isn't working. And so that's all really good stuff.
Hey guys, you've probably picked up, we've spoken at a much faster pace tonight because I think, a bit of retrospect, Ben, we were maybe a bit too ambitious to try and cover this topic under 20 minutes. But you know what, guys? There's a simple solution. You can slow down the speed on your phone, on your laptop, whether it's on YouTube, Spotify, podcast. That's not our problem. Just slow it down, speed it up. Who cares? All right, guys, so I just want to resume everything, just summarize everything we spoke about. So the goal of tonight's podcast episode, short form, was to share some information how you can level up as a rugby player, but also You can also use this if you're a mom, a dad, a purpose-driven human being, you're working in a corporate space. You can use this format as well to help you and guide you on your journey. And for example, you'll be focusing on the skill set at work. That's your technical. The mental side is the pressure of work, the anxiety that you are experiencing, your communication, your ability to work with others. And that's very important. So I'm going to resume. You need to start with number one. You need to start with your why. All right. What is your vision? What do you want to achieve? Why are you doing? What is the driving force, that intrinsic motivation? Then we start with your personal audit. And we just mentioned it's technical, physical, mental, all right, tactical awareness, and then as well your rugby IQ, which is rugby intelligence. And then number three, you need to find a mentor or a coach or build your support network to help you and guide you on your journey to level up. And then the fourth one is your weekly tactics. Make sure you have those consistent efforts. Repetition leads to sustainable habits. Ben, anything else you want to add before we sign off?
No, I think you summarized that well, G. No, it's good. It's a really important one. And I love the transferability to whatever people do in life. You know, you find your own subjects and you can incorporate what we've been speaking about into whatever you do. But then you can find a way of doing your personal audit. And then you can keep coming back to that, say, on a monthly basis. Oh, I was a 5 out of 10 last month, but now I'm a 6. Okay, that's great. I'm making progress. Where can I focus my efforts for the next month? And so, yeah, that people can use it and tweak it. And yeah, we'd love to have feedback as well. What do other people do in the workspace, in other workspaces, for example? If you've got any questions around how can I, have you got any suggestions or questions of how we can make it more relevant for us in this situation? Please get in touch. I'd love to hear how people do it.
Yeah, awesome, guys. And if you can give us feedback, you can either DM us on Instagram on the Lessons from the Game podcast page on Instagram, or myself, Ben, you can DM us as well. But also, if you're on Spotify, you have the option of leaving a comment. So leave a comment on Spotify or leave a comment on YouTube if you're watching or listening to this on YouTube. Give us some feedback. And if there was a specific area that you would love us to deep dive into in the future, we can create a standalone episode just on that, or maybe get a guest on to help us deep dive into the personal audit. Because we did try to crunch in a lot of information, but that also linked to the passion we have to give you guys insights from the game and share the lessons from the game. The goal is we want to inspire you, want to help you so that you can level up your performance, but also enjoy what you love. That's the most important. So guys, if you enjoyed tonight's podcast, please give us that 5-star rating. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whichever platform you're listening. Please give us a 5-star rating. Share it with your friends. Like the podcast, subscribe to it, follow it, and just help us to continue to share the Lessons from the Game podcast. And please, any feedback is welcome. That's us, guys. Wish you guys an unbelievable week wherever you guys are in the world, and looking forward to the next one.
Cheers, guys.